What's up, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Sooners on SI podcast, and it is our last Sooners on SI podcast, not in an Oklahoma game week. We've got week zero action getting rolling. We'll kind of preview that a little bit in our big prediction special toward the end of this bad boy. But Ryan Chapman here with you as always. We've also got the usual suspects, our fearless leader, John Hoover, up in the 918. Boss, how you doing?
God, we're so close to kickoff, aren't we? I'm so just antsy for this.
I know. I'm ready. I've got my Guinness on tap, ready to rock and roll. Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Let's go down to Norman. We have the great Carson Field, my friend. How are you? Your first OU fall camp is in the books. How are you feeling? Are you feeling ready to go for the season? Because I'm tired already.
A little bit tired on my end too, but I am so juiced. Like who was saying, this game on Saturday is going to be awesome with the Farmageddon game, some other games that day. So that's kind of a prelude to what we get next week. I'm pumped.
Yeah, it should be good. The fall camp thing is tough because we get taste of football without the adrenaline rush of there's a game on Saturday. So like on Thursday, when I'm usually my lowest during the week, I'm like, okay, Michigan's come to town in 48 hours. You can push through. There's nothing happening like that. Though we are 16 days away from Oklahoma and Michigan. That make anybody feel any better? Certainly makes me feel good. We closed the book on fall camp, opened up, I guess, technically the game week prep in Norman. No, they're not spending 2 weeks in Illinois State, but they're breaking practice out into more of the game week stuff. That'll go down. It will fully turn the page over to Illinois State next week. So we should be on the normal schedule. I've not heard anything different from last year. So probably players Monday night, Brent Venables press conference, big and official on Tuesday. If we hear anything different, we'll fire that out there so that you know when to come to the site, oklahomasooners.si.com, when to expect all of the content flooding out. But let's put a bow on some of the guys we spoke to. We only spoke one round of interviews this week on Tuesday. It was kind of a big one. We got to talk to Emmett Jones, Jay Valai, Todd Bates. So that rounded out some of the assistants. And then we also got basically the entire D-tackle room of guys that we hadn't spoken to yet, including Mr. David Stone. And while talking to the assistants was great, I want to start with Mr. Stone, guys. It was the first time that he's spoken publicly in front of the mass of OU reporters and all that fun stuff since his 72-hour hiatus, holiday, stint, whatever you want to call it, in the transfer portal at the end of spring football. It was a weird situation, not to rehash it, but we had talked to him in the spring, super positive, enters the portal, exits the portal, decides to stay in Norman. And I thought Stone handled himself on Tuesday pretty professionally, just straight up said, a lot of personal stuff going on, got that sorted, it's all good. And he singled out two people in particular that he really, really leaned on. First of which being Todd Bates. We know the relationship that those two have, and Todd Bates spoke glowingly about it. But it was Ethan Downs, who was around during the spring in the lead up to NFL draft prep, all that stuff. David said he picked his brain about legacy and what it meant to be at Oklahoma and stay at Oklahoma. And that's got to mean something a little bit different coming from the Weatherford product to a kid that in David Stone that, yeah, he spent 2 years at IMG, but started in Del City, an OK Preps product. We know the drill there.
Yep. Ethan Downs might have just won himself a job on the OU staff moving forward for keeping local guys around through that legacy talk. Hey, I'm from here. You're from here. Let's talk about what OU football means to the people who live here in this state and the people you run into, the people you bump into when you're shopping or whatever it is. You come across these people and they look at you and they say, that's an OU football player. I love that dude. And there's so many OU football fans, right? There's millions of football fans. Not all of them live in the state. But Ethan Downs is like the ambassador for what it takes to grow up in Oklahoma as an OU fan and then play at Oklahoma. And now he's putting down the sales pitch for guys who, following in his footsteps, so to speak, following that similar path, who might be thinking about entering the transfer portal, right? 5-star defensive lineman, transfer portal. No, come here and talk to me. I want to talk to you about legacy. Ethan Downs, silent hero for the OU football program. And what a treat it is to get to hear and listen to and talk to David Stone on a regular basis, because he's so insightful and he's so engaging and he's so friendly and he laughs and exchanges jokes during the interview. It's really cool interview with him. If you haven't seen it, go check out my YouTube channel, John Hoover Media, or the site. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Scroll down, click on the football tab, scroll down, you'll find it. It's always fun to hear him talk, to engage in a conversation with him. He's so insightful. And then the Todd Bates angle. I love that one. Todd Bates is like, I'm out here doing an interview. That guy's upstairs watching film right now. That's what you want to hear.
It definitely is what you want to hear. I was going to say something along those lines of a lot of times teammates aren't going to sell their teammates under the bus. Even if they're not having a great offseason, they're going to say something along the lines of, oh yeah, he has so much potential. He's super athletic. He has this skill. Most of the praise that David Stone has received from his teammates and coaches has been about his leadership, his work ethic, how much time he spent in the film room, kind of going off of Hoop's point of he was doing that interview. David Stone was sitting in the film room, probably waiting for Bates to get back. So that just says a lot about how David Stone has really taken this, some personal stuff going on, some hardships, not necessarily living up to his five-star potential as a freshman, but really segueing that and motivating him to be great as a sophomore in 2025.
Yeah, it's a guy that Todd Bates said he's probably the highest football IQ guy in that DT room. When we talked to Jaden Jackson on last Friday, I think it all kind of runs together. Jaden Jackson said he's the smartest guy as far as scheme and all that stuff. And so David certainly sounds like he's put in the work. That reflects exactly what Grayson Holton and Dominic Williams said way back when we started fall camp and talked to those guys and get a little bit more into some of the stuff Todd Bates was talking about. I mean, you look at that room when they arrived in Hoover. I know you remember this. We were looking at it going, they have one guy that's at 3 bills and they're trying to get there. And now you look across the room and everybody's 3 bills or really close to 300 pounds. And the only guys that aren't are either freshmen or like second year guys like a Nigel Smith who has moved into that room. So it's his first off season really packing on the weight that's necessary there. And you look at that, John, of if David Stone can turn that potential into production and take DeJoun Terry's spot in that rotation, along with Jaden Jackson, who said he feels like he's got a new shoulder, Dominic Williams, Grayson Holton, as he's worked his way back in, all that stuff. You pair that with an R. Mason Thomas, who, while did not make the ESPN top 100 college football players, if you look at Dane Brugler's stuff on The Athletic, he does the big, hey, projecting NFL potential, a top 45 type guy. I can't remember if it was 42 or 44, but early second round bill on or grade on R. Mason Thomas right now. I guess you look at it and we're going to kind of come full circle. At SEC Media Day, Cole Kublik was one of those guys, first one through to be like, I think Oklahoma could have the best defensive line in the country, that kind of thing. Are you believing in this strength in numbers plus R. Mason Thomas to maybe be the best unit for Oklahoma this year?
I am. This defensive line has the potential to be devastating. Really good rotation. And now here's the thing. We're seeing a lot and hearing a lot of good things about David Stone. One of the reasons is Grayson Holton has been injured with a hamstring. He's missed almost all of camp, I believe, with a hamstring. He's a guy that comes on, unexpectedly last year. He jumps into the rotation. He's had a good couple of spring games, and when he gets on the field, he's pretty good. But he jumps in last year and he changes games with some of the plays that he makes in the OU backfield. The Houston game for the safety to clinch the game, basically, because Houston was going to take that ball. If they had any kind of return, they were going to take that ball and try to move down in field goal range to win the game. He changes the game with a safety because he's quick, he's explosive, he studies film. So he's a guy that, and there were some plays throughout the season where he made similar plays, made similar impacts. But then you look at where David Stone is kind of coming from. He didn't get a ton of action last year. He played in a lot of games, didn't get a lot of defensive snaps. One of the reasons he's having such a great camp is because Grayson Holton has been on the shelf. So you'd like to see all 4 of those guys, right, getting in that rotation, getting those backup snaps and those 2 snaps, intermixing with the ones here and there. If Grayson Holton is available all season, is healthy all season, is productive all season, if he can get past that injury, then yeah, the OU defensive tackles are threatening to other offenses. Then you throw in the defensive end, you throw in R. Mason Thomas. We know what Marvin Jones can do early in his career at Georgia and at Florida State. Danny Okoye, best athlete on the team, pound for pound. PJ Adebore, 5-star potential, right? 5-star recruit, right? At some point, he's going to reach that. You hope at some point. Yep. I'm not saying they're the best defensive line. Cole Kubelik probably got a little cart ahead of the horse there, but they have the potential to be an absolutely devastating and arguably, yes, the best defensive line in the SEC and even in the country, possibly.
Yeah, I think this I've long said that OU has a low floor and a high ceiling as a team. I think the defensive line has a high floor and an even higher ceiling. I mean, you look at the guys that we've seen, Grayson Halton, R. Mason Thomas, Jaden Jackson, guys that have performed at a high level can do it. We know that. We've seen that at OU, and it's probably going to happen again. Then there's so much untapped potential from guys like Danny Okoye, who called pound for pound the best athlete on the team, PJ Adebore, Marvin Jones Jr. So many guys that not necessarily the college production yet, not necessarily a star player at this level of football, but all of those guys can do it. They have the physical capabilities. Obviously, like we just talked about David Stone, all signs are pointing to him having a big season this year. So I really think this can be, like Hoove said, the best defensive line in the conference, best in the country. And I really think worst case, they're still probably upper half in the SEC.
Excited to see what Mr. Stone looks like, and then everybody at the non-R. Mason Thomas defensive end spot once the Sooners get rolling out against the number 6th ranked Illinois State Redbirds in the FCS Coaches Poll. That is not one, but two top 15 matchups for the Sooners in Norman if we count the glorious FCS Coaches Poll, which if Auburn's claimed the 2004 Natty, why can't we build this as a top 20 matchup in Oklahoma? Jackson Arnold, national champion quarterback, by the way. Congratulations
Yeah.
to him.
Guys, I'm old enough to have covered that 2004 season. That was my first year on the OU beat. I don't remember Auburn winning the national championship. Did I miss something? They went undefeated, but they finished behind Oklahoma and they finished behind USC. If you finish behind two teams, you don't get to claim a national championship, do you?
Claiming titles in the BCS era and beyond is awesome, and we should have more of it because it's
Oh.
the dumbest thing ever. It is.
Oh, we played it on the field. Nope, didn't play it on the field. We were undefeated.
This is like they're just gonna blame AI, I guess, and computers, and Skynet because of the BCS. So anyone that watched that '04 USC team as well just knows, like, yep, that they were the ones. They get to display whatever they want to display, and the NCAA is not telling me anything else. Hey, let's bounce over to the other side of the ball for the Sooners. Let's go back and forth here a little bit. Spoke to Emmett Jones as well. You're going to want to watch this interview. Carson did a great job. He was right there in the mix because Emmett Jones loves himself a comparison. And are they irresponsible comparisons? Maybe, but they're fun. You got Elijah Thomas, who was compared by Giovanni Gibson. Now, this was Giovanni Gibson's statement, not Emmett Jones's, to Malik Neighbors. Good luck. Awesome if Elijah Thomas ends up being that good immediately. You had Keontez Lewis, who Emmett Jones says he has a little bit of CeeDee Lamb, a little bit of Nick Anderson in him. Hopefully the healthy half of Nick Anderson. That would be important. Carson, you were there for the entirety of the Emmett Jones interview. We'll talk about the second-year guys here in a second because we can really dig in on Kerryon and Kearney and some of those guys. But that's a guy that seems like he's juiced about this revamped wide receiving core.
Yeah, I think he likes the combination of some of those transfers, guys that had success at the FCS level, a guy like Isaiah Satania who had success at Arkansas, some of these guys coming back like you mentioned a second ago. So there's so much different talent. Elijah Thomas, a lot of people are expecting him to be a breakout player. I think that was your pick, Ryan, for newcomer. So there's a lot of things to look forward to, and I know that OU fans are antsy to see what that looks like, who gets the most reps, who is kind of establishing himself as the number one guy in that wide receiver room after how last year went. And I really think that they put together kind of, I know I've talked about this before, but a Moneyball approach, not necessarily going after number one player in the portal, number one receiver in the 2025 class, getting guys that might not fit that 5-star, high 4-star mold that 247 rivals, people like that use. Emmett Jones kind of talked a little bit about his grading scale, getting a guy like Jermichael Carter. That's a guy that had one offer out of high school, and that was to McNeese State at the FCS level. He was really good last year at McNeese State. 3-star transfers, started getting some power offers, but not this highly touted prospect. But Jones saw him, saw his footage, got him on campus, and was like, yep, that's a guy that's going to be really good for OU. So I think it's going to be interesting to just kind of see how his mold works. of getting guys that fit OU's program, guys that buy into the culture, connect with Mateer. I really think it could work out.
It'll be interesting to see too. It's not just the newcomers. It's he talked about a guy like Deion Burks that you didn't really get to see much of a year ago just because of the injuries and making that thing go. Obviously, Isaiah Satania, who we've all talked about a great deal here, is someone that has had a really good spring, really good camp, all that stuff. But maybe one of the more important groups in this wide receiver room, who are the guys like a Zion Curdy and the guys like an Ivan Carrion, who went through the fire last year, did not go well for most of the year. Both those guys had a pretty good Armed Forces Bowl first half at least. And Kearney, someone Ben Arbuckle had highlighted ahead of camp as someone that stood out. And I was asking Emmett, like, was it hard at all a year ago for that confidence to not dip? And he's like, look, everyone's going to go through that, but all they could try to really stick on was, hey, I just can run my route. I can throw my block, that kind of stuff, and trying to just build that day on day on day. And it looked like we might have in that first half of the Armed Forces Bowl gotten something good out of that, gotten some returns, gotten to see what that looks like. But I'll be really interested, Hoove, because if you can get those guys to take a step forward and actually contribute, then suddenly you've got a really nice base level of, I don't know who the like five guys that you're going to rely on in that rotation, but if you keep Burks and Satania healthy and have that, it feels like you at least have guys that they're going to be comfortable throwing out there at times this year.
Yeah, and these guys are making. I think they're making. If you buy into what the players and coaches are talking about in preseason camp, they're making that second year player stride. Right, they're making that advancement. They're taking that next step in their careers. They were not ready for prime time last year as true freshmen. Who is, right, as a true freshman? I know I wasn't. When I was a true freshman, I think my first semester GPA was 1.1, guys. I got things fixed in the second semester, turned it around. The rest of my college career had nothing to do with college football, of course, other than covering it. But, I was able to turn it around those next 3 years and become a productive citizen in the Ada community, right? Well, here's kind of what's going on with those guys. So many injuries. You mentioned Nick Anderson. We've talked at length about Jaden Gibson and so on and so forth. So many injuries last year. Deion Burks was expected. All those guys who were supposed to be frontline guys, Jalil Farouk is another one, they all got removed eventually from the conversation. And you basically take your unproven, untested, unknowing anything because they're true freshmen wide receivers, and you say, you're up next. Sorry, next man up. You're next, in some cases, boy up because they're 18 years old, right? So those guys just were not ready. And like I said, who is as a true freshman? But you see him playing. I think Kearney played 247 total snaps. We look at the PFF numbers, Pro Football Focus. Carrion got 190 total snaps. They started getting a little more action. They started getting a little more involved. They started understanding and not just the game plan or what the quarterback's tendencies were, but they started understanding how to separate from defensive backs in the SEC, which is a very difficult thing, I'm told. So you start to see more and more playing time. Then the bowl game comes around. They play against Navy, and you see Carrion's got 77 of his 190 snaps for the season came in the bowl game. What was his result? 7 catches, 72 yards. Kearney, he got 247 total snaps. Guy ends up with 2 catches in the bowl game, including the 56-yard touchdown. That's what you want. That's the kind of progress you want to see from young guys. Now, what that does projecting forward is you've seen them grow up. You've seen them progress. You've seen them take that next step. Now you're experienced. You're sophomore. You know where your class is. You know where the administration building is. You know where where to sign up for whatever. You're a college kid now. Now go out and act like, you're not, it's not next boy up anymore. It's next man up. And these guys are much more mature, much more understanding, much more, they understand a lot more of where they're supposed to be, including on the football field. And I think that's going to show this year. I think you're going to see both guys take that next step.
It'll be big too. It's something that Emmett Jones also spoke about, like work with Ben Arbuckle, stuff like that. He's like, first off, 2 thumbs up. It's great. But also for him, Emmett was working with Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech, and everything from Kitley to Arbuckle is out of that tree, offshoot to that. So it's no sweat for Emmett Jones as far as like, I know exactly how to teach everything they want. Are we going to tailor it exactly what Arbuckle wants? Yeah, absolutely. Duh. But It's not like he's having to make a huge left turn and stunt those guys' growth or anything like that. It's something he's familiar with, and Oklahoma should be familiar with. So should be able to see that. And especially, I think it was last week I was saying, I would like to see Ivan Carrion popped in some of the spots that Arbuckle used some tight ends in the red zone. As a
Yep.
He's 6'6". He looks good. We were talking to him. Looks like he's added some more strength there in the upper body and kind of filled out a little bit more. No reason why at bare minimum you can't find two of those bigger bodied guys and try to find some matchups, because that's what good coaches typically do. And Ben Arbuckle's been good at every stop thus far. Let's bounce back over to the other side of the ball. Jay Valai, got to talk with him. We've heard a ton about his young corners. He also got on a little bit of the comparison train. How about Stephon Gilmore for Cortland Guillory? That by anybody? So if you're keeping track at home, Oklahoma has literally Stephon Gilmore, literally Malik Neighbors, and literally the blend of CeeDee Lamb and Nick Anderson. That team's probably going to, win some NFL games, I guess. But in all seriousness, Jay Valai, something that he always talks about and that we heard a ton and that came to fruition a year ago with Eli Bowen was he doesn't see freshman, sophomore, junior. He sees football players and what can you do to help it out. And he was talking a great deal about those young guys, Newcomb, Devon Jordan, Cortland Guillory. Can they actually come in and play a role? And Carson, with Eli Bowen still working his way back in, they're going to have a chance early opposite of Gentry Williams or Kendall Dolby.
They definitely will. Guys like, I know a lot of people are excited about Cortland Guillory. You just mentioned the comparison to Gilmore. I think he's going to be a big playmaker. Guys like Jeremiah Newcomb, Reggie Powers, Devin Jordan. There's a lot of different guys in the secondary, not necessarily just at corner, but secondary wide that I think can fill some spots. I know a lot of people have highlighted the versatility of this defense, guys that can kind of shuttle around from cornerback to safety, safety to linebacker, whatnot, fill a lot of different roles, which I think could be big, especially with, like you said, Eli Bowen still fighting off that injury, status for week 1 unknown. So it's going to be interesting, but I think a lot of these young guys are going to get reps, and a lot of them could look really good.
Yeah, I jump in real quick. Just I think that's going to be an absolute. We talked about the defensive line, the quality of it. We talked about replacing, Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman. Let's just call him Danny Bowman. Kind of smooth that out, make it quicker. You're going to have to replace some guys, and those guys on the front are going to have to play better than they have. But holy cow, is this season contingent on healthy cornerbacks at Oklahoma? You've got Gentry Williams with the shoulder. You got Kendall Dolby with the, ankle, foot, leg thing. Goodness. He's supposed to come back from that and be an impact starter at cornerback. And then you got Eli Bowen, who's been out basically almost since spring. Holy cow. So if they get those 3 guys back and those 3 guys are able to finish the season, or at least 2 of those 3 guys are able to finish the season, big things for Oklahoma's defense. If not, there's a lot of new quarterbacks around the SEC this year, and there's a few that are not new. Man, just those guys must be looking at this young, the young guys, the youth that Jay Valai speaks highly of. Those are the guys that the opposing quarterbacks and offensive coordinators and wide receivers want to see. So hopefully those 3 guys get healthy and are able to withstand the season, because that's Oklahoma's season. 6 wins, 5 wins, or 9 wins, 10 wins. I think it could be contingent on what happens at cornerback for OU.
Good news is Jay Valai was talking about Gentry. He said that they've ramped him up more and more and more as camp has gone on to get him ready, and he looks good, aggressive. He talked about, too, he's played with a little bit of that edge. He called him a father figure, but a father figure that wants to fight, basically, and get in there. He doesn't just want to develop those guys to take his job. He wants to develop them so he's like, okay, now I compete with you, and it makes me better. That kind of thing. Kendall Dolby, they've been pretty they've had the bubble wrap around Kendall Dolby, I think, understandably, but I don't think they're mega concerned about that. And then there's always Jacoby Johnson, who last year it was tough to grade his cornerback play after he got pulled over into splitting some time between receiver and DB, even though it never really came to fruition at receiver. So it's going to be really interesting to see just how much more fluid does he look now that he's just been back fully in the cornerback room and all that stuff. And the good news, too, it's like Jay Valai, I don't know if this was him presenting confidence or just straight up saying, hey, remember Eli Bowen was banged up to start the year last year as well. the mental side of the game for the Bowens has never been the issue for both those guys. It's just get them healthy, get on the field. You saw how good Eli was a year ago, and you have to imagine he's looking to build on that as well and build it not having to do 100% of the snaps if you can knock on wood, keep everybody healthy. So that should be good there. It was good to talk to not a corner, obviously, but Jaden Jackson last Friday. You mentioned David Stone being a joy to talk to. I love talking to Jaden as well. And like I said, the biggest thing for him was that shoulder feels new. He said he's ready to rock and roll. So that's certainly good news. Someone else that kind of got a shout out on Friday as well, and Hoove, I know you wrote about this over the weekend. Brent Venables took a second to pull off to the side and be like, hey, Tory Blaylock out of that running back room. You expect a ton of Jaden, obviously, but Tory Blaylock's a guy because at one point it was just Javonte and Tory that were rolling through stuff. He's gotten a chance to kind of show things off. And Hoove, I know you and I were really impressed by just how fluid he was in the spring. His lower body looks even more built here as coming out of summer workouts into that kind of stuff. So I don't know if this means, John, that suddenly Tory Blaylock's going to get tons and tons and tons of snaps, but it feels like the way that Brent Venables talked about him, as long as he doesn't, fumble the ball and he's good on his pass pro, as we know is the barrier to entry for DeMarco Murray, sounds like a guy that we will see, certainly, if nothing else, against Illinois State, Kent State, Temple.
Yeah, here's the way I would look at freshman running back coming into the situation that he's coming into at Oklahoma. You've got your established guys. You've got your guys who have made their case, right? Like Xavier Robinson made their case for more playing time. If they have to, for any reason, injuries, suspension, whatever happens, the college football red card, right? Targeting, something like that happens. You can go to Tory Blaylock and not have to worry about some things, whether he's, fast enough, whether he's big enough, whether he's strong enough, whether he's involved enough in the offensive game plan to know what the hell he's doing as a freshman, right? That's one of the things you would worry about. Pass pro, yes. Ball security, yes. Ask Taylor Tatum about those things, right? And how they get you benched. But for Brent Venables to come out and say, Tory Blaylock has been as impressive a freshman as I've ever been around, that says a lot. That says a lot. And he says, he may not get a ton of carries this year. Fine. The ones he gets, he needs to make the most of them. This is a guy, you guys look at his recruiting profile. You're talking about Alabama, everybody in the SEC, right? Alabama, Georgia, you've got Notre Dame, Ohio State, Texas wanted him, Oregon wanted him, the best of the best of the best wanted Tory Blaylock. So here's what I like about him in telling his story. As a junior in high school, right? Spring semester, he runs track. He and his 4x100 teammates shatter the national record for the 4x100. 38.92, I think their time was. He was about 5'11". He was 5'11" and about 175 pounds then. Right now, at least according to the preseason roster check, dude is 203 pounds. He knows what it takes to put in the work to make that next step. And that's what you want from a freshman running back.
Should be fun to see if we see him early. We talked to a bunch of other guys, too. Let's just put a bow on this. Carson, you wrote about Owen Heineke. Is he stepping up there, a guy that might be key? Because I think a bunch of people feel good about OU's front three at linebacker, Kip Lewis, Kobe McKenzie, and Simeon Wasigo. Might be a little light on depth. Was there anybody else that we talked to both Friday, Tuesday that to highlight here before we close the book on talking season?
I think, Heineke is someone that he cited his confidence just kind of growing. He's been in this for a little bit longer. Obviously started his college career at Ohio State as a lacrosse player. Now he's back playing football, and apparently this is his most confident. Brent Venables sung praises about him. So I think he's interesting. Marcus Strong, also a defensive tackle. That's someone else that sticks out to me. Finally healthy. Some really injury-riddled seasons to start off his time at OU, but now he's healthy. Learned a lot this offseason, leaned on guys like Dominic Williams, Grayson Halton, some guys that have done it before throughout the rehabilitation process, and apparently he's grown a lot, gotten some size on him, become quicker, just become a better player and better leader on this team, and he's amped to finally be healthy, playing football. I think he described it as childlike joy for the season opener, just finally being healthy, so really cool to see from him.
My favorite part of the Corey Heineke story is, I'm sorry, I said Corey Heineke, Owen Heineke story, is that he's Corey Heineke's nephew, right? So he's been to all these, think about it, over the years, tailgates, parties, functions where there's OU football players and you're a little kid and they're walking around and they're larger than life. Well, guess what? Now he's an OU football player. So that's extremely cool.
It should be pretty fun, pretty good. If nothing else, he continues. He's been a like special team star 100% of the snaps that he's basically played on kick coverage and stuff like that. So we'll see what's going on there. Gentlemen, that though, we're going to close the book on talking season with the only way we know how, which is finishing our talking about all the predictions and things like that. For all those stories, all that great stuff, Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. We got our roundtable series going right now. Every morning, 6 a.m., we're hitting one big question for Oklahoma. Who's going to be the best newcomer? Who's going to be the X factors on both offense and defense? Maybe the breakout play of the year, all that stuff. Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. Got a bunch of videos for that. Hoover's doing a great job grinding those out. So head to his YouTube page, John Hoover Media. And as always, we'll have a ton of stuff through the weekend as we kick off into game week. Just bookmark that bad boy, Oklahoma Sooners on SI.com. It's free. Everything we do, fully free. Just click, read, enjoy, all that fun stuff. It is there for you. Tell a friend, tell your mama about it as well. All right, Carson, this is your first go around here on the Sooners on SI prediction special. I'll have you know, Carson, we are 100% accuracy every year.
Pressure's on.
Hoove didn't predict that tight ends would catch 50 balls a couple of years ago. That didn't happen. I didn't pick, I think it was Howells, North Carolina, to go to the CFP, and then they lost in week 1. That didn't happen. No. Anything like that. So,
Josh didn't pick OU to go 12-0 when they went 6-6.
Yeah, that didn't happen either. We're throwing all that out. Good ones. We're going to round it through it all. What we got for you here, folks, we'll go on record, our Oklahoma record predictions. Then we're going to hit all the major conferences, your SEC title game and chant, Big Ten title game and chant, ACC, Big 12, and then just the group of 5 representative in the college football playoff. Let's kick off locally, then we'll get, farther out. Let's start with Oklahoma. This one, I think, is maybe the hardest question on the board, which is going to make for a really fun year for us. We'll start with you. Simply put, regular season, what do you think Oklahoma finishes after reading and crunching all the numbers and all that fun stuff here throughout these last 8 months?
Can I start it by saying anywhere from?
You could, but I got to write something down here, okay?
All right. My official prediction for Oklahoma football in 2025. You ready? 7-5. I think there are 2 toss-up games, however. I do think there are 2 toss-up games. You win those 2, you might be in the playoff discussion.
Where do you have Oklahoma winning, losing, drawing, all the fun stuff?
Yeah, so the 2 toss-ups to me, because one is so early in the season and because the other one is always just a toss-up, Michigan and Texas. Okay, right now, Texas, a heavy favorite. Don't buy that. Don't buy OU Texas. We've seen it before. We've seen double-digit underdogs multiple years in a row. Double-digit underdogs come out and actually win the game by double digits. So OU Texas, it's like take it off the board. Don't mess around with that game. Nobody knows. We have no idea. Michigan, it's the second game of the year. There's going to be a lot of turnover, a lot of change in the Oklahoma roster. The 2 deep has a lot of questions. There's going to be some. I don't think Michigan is some great quality team going to come in here and 2 years off a national championship going to stomp the Sooners. I think they're good enough to win that game for sure, but I'm not sure Oklahoma is where they want to be yet as a program in 2025. So I think those are 2 toss-ups. Man, for the rest of the schedule, here's the deal. You guys who have watched the podcast, you know that my prediction is, probably right down the middle, 7-5. I try to weigh the games that might be toss-ups. I try to weigh the games that are, we don't know what is going to happen, what November is going to look like right now. It's still freaking August. But here's the deal. This is what I think is going to happen. After OU Texas, those are the coin toss. If they win those games, then to me, anything is possible this season. But let's stick to the narrative here for me and say they lose to the Wolverines. They beat Auburn. They'll be 4-1 when they go to Dallas. You win that one, the world opens up. And I'm talking about playoff. I'm talking about a playoff run, okay, assuming everybody stays healthy. But I think they drop that game to the Longhorns. Then I think they go on the road. I think they lose the following week at South Carolina. Ole Miss and Norman is definitely winnable. I think they win that game, but Tennessee in Knoxville. I know Tennessee's not where they want to be right now as well, but Josh, count on Josh Heupel. I think they lose that game in Knoxville. Then you have an open date. I think they lose the next week in Tuscaloosa. I think that 2-game stretch is just too much to ask for this team. They go into their last 2 games just like last year, 5-5. And they come home and they cream Missouri and to get bowl eligible. And then with the season kind of on the line, the quality of the season, 6-6 or 7-5, winning record or another potential losing record, I think they win at home over LSU.
We're going to do a bonus, and you don't have to go very long on it. If the season plays out exactly like that, are we covering a coaching search in December?
Woo!
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to the prediction show, John.
7-5, new athletic director, Randall Stevenson in charge. I say yes.
Yeah, I don't know if you can go 6-7, 6-7, 7-5. It doesn't really matter what you do in that other season. This is the SEC. Ask Coach O what winning a title versus being awful is. And you didn't even do that. They didn't make the Big 12 championship game. Carson, I whip around to you. Are you as down on Oklahoma? John Hoover hates the Sooners. We just established this. Are you as down on Oklahoma?
I thought 7-5 was an improvement.
Technically, factually correct.
I am exactly as down as John Hoover is. I have them going 7-5 as well. I have the same 2 losses in the first 6 games to Michigan and Texas. I think both of those, like John said, are toss-up games, especially the Michigan game. Home field really works in the favor of OU. Michigan's going to be much improved. You saw how much they improved second half of last season, beating Ohio State, then turning around and beating Bama in a bowl game. They looked really good at the end of the year. Sharon Moore, even all of these sanctions, all these lawsuits coming down on that program, he looks like he's really turning this program into what could be a juggernaut soon. Texas, I think, even if Arch Manning isn't what he's cracked up to be, I still think that's a dang good football team across the board. Offense, defense, they have skill position players, really good lines. I think that's a good football team. I don't think it's going to be as ugly as it was last year at the Cotton Bowl, but I still think Texas is the favorite. Not saying, oh, you can't win that game. We've seen crazier things happen in that game. I still think Texas takes it. Then going further down the line, I've got a win at South Carolina. That is an 11 a.m. kickoff in Columbia. Williams-Brice Stadium is a good atmosphere, but it's a lot different at night than it is in the daytime. You saw what they did to teams like Texas A&M at the end of last year in night games. Then you see them barely beating Missouri in the daytime. So it's one of those things that stadium is so much more electric at night. Ole Miss, I think that's a win too. It's Lane Kiffin-led team. They're always going to be good. Lane Kiffin's a heck of a coach. A lot of newcomers, though. Jackson Dart's a tough guy to replace. I think they win that game. At Tennessee and at Alabama, I agree with what Hoop said. That's a tough 2-game stretch, back-to-back road games at hostile environments. Tennessee's taking a step down this year, a lot of new offensive pieces, but still that Neyland Stadium atmosphere may be the best in college football. Bama's Bama. They're upset after what happened last year. Bryant-Denny is also a crazy atmosphere. I think it's back-to-back losses. I don't know if Missouri's going to get creamed by OU like Hoove said, but I think they're going to lose. Ahmad Hardy, I think he's going to be right there with the top of the Jaden Otts, Le'Veon Mosses of the SEC, one of the better backs in the league. But that team, there's so much uncertainty as far as quarterback play, defensive secondary. Not too high on Missouri this year. So I think Sooners win that, get to 7. Then they fall to LSU. I think LSU is one of the teams that has a good chance to win the league. Garrett Nussmeier, if I had to pick right now, that's my pick for the Heisman Trophy this year. I think Nussmeier is going to be fantastic. Brian Kelly's got a lot at stake this year, too. That could be a big game for his job security. I think LSU wins in Norman. OU goes 7-5, and the Sooners are looking for a new coach in December.
Well, that leaves me to be the ray of sunshine, I guess. Not where I was expecting to be. I've got 8-4. I think there's a lot of upward momentum, but here's the one thing we haven't seen from Brent Venables yet that I really need to see, and that is, can you consistently stack good fourth quarter on good fourth quarter on good fourth quarter in a bunch of close games? I've been told multiple times by the masses that you can't count 2022 against Brent Venables because, he wasn't the head coach and didn't put together the roster, despite the fact that He was the head coach, and they were awful in basically every single fourth quarter there. Improvement against Texas, obviously, in 2023, but they threw away victories in Lawrence and Stillwater when they had two late turnovers in the fourth quarter. They weren't able to get things done. Last year, I don't even know if you can call some things poorly managed when you weren't in the game against South Carolina. You weren't truly in the game against Ole Miss at the end. LSU was like, he can say all he wants about, oh, we were down by 7 late. Like the second that LSU got a stop and score at a halftime, that game was over. We were all there. The energy was dead, that kind of stuff. But you have like the Missouri game where your vaunted defense was great, great, great. And then they let Missouri march right down the field. So my big question is, things should be better. I don't think the defense is going to drop off. Quarterback play should be much better. The offense can't possibly be worse. I just don't know if the offensive line is going to be good enough to let Oklahoma put away some of these games late, but I'm certainly open to it. I just because we haven't seen it, that prevented me from really going to like the 9-3, 10-2 territory. I don't think they really have much issue with Michigan at all. I don't think it's like a blowout, but I think that Oklahoma's going to be in control of that one. I think Auburn's going to be a tire fire, so I'm not really worried about that, which leads us into another Texas that, as you said, who hard to predict, impossible to predict, but it feels like this has the shot at being another one of those big time OU Texas games that you and I were both in the house for in the early 2000s, things like that. And then from there, who knows with Ole Miss, who knows with Missouri. I just think that headed to South Carolina with Lenora Sellers might be a bit much of an ask there. I do think they get the win in Knoxville. Not overly impressed with Tennessee and everything that's gone down there. I don't think they're going to win in Tuscaloosa. It's not the first time we'll touch on the Crimson Tide here. And I don't think they close out with a big emotional senior night victory over LSU. But the ones I would tick are Texas, South Carolina, Alabama, and LSU. And I feel like I can be convinced on OU Texas, OU Texas. I can be convinced on South Carolina having to replace virtually the entire front seven if Lenora Sellers doesn't take that step forward. And LSU at home, I think the wheels could just as much be off the wagon for LSU as they could be good. I think they're going to be good, but that has bust potential written all over it. So I think there's a lot of upward mobility there, but I'm kind of in the I need to see it mode for a lot of these guys, especially Brent Venables. And he certainly could prove me like wrong as far as the fourth quarter stuff. I'm not saying that they can't, they just haven't so far. And before I like would get super carried away with like a 9-3 or a 10-2, I need to see that they can stack multiple fourth quarters and not just one super emotional win against Texas and then almost like lose it against UCF the next time they're out on the field, stuff like that. Because that's something that we didn't see last year that Brent Venables talked about going into the season is they're going to have to learn how to handle the ups, the downs, the peaks and valleys because there are so many of them when it comes to rolling through an SEC schedule. So our three predictions of schedule do not land Oklahoma in Atlanta. Who do you have in the SEC championship game, and who will be the SEC champion when the dust settles?
Let me see. I believe. Okay, so the easy pick right now. I don't know if it's an easy pick. Maybe we're just too close to OU and Texas, right? When we see all the warts and we know the history. But it seems like the easy pick right now for a lot of national media is Texas. Texas going to win the SEC. Texas going to go to the playoff. Okay, they're like Carson said, they're loaded. There's still some question marks about Arch. We'll see. He's going to play really well with a lot of really talented players around him. I think we all believe that. But am I buying that they're going to just win the SEC and go to the playoff and challenge for they're not preseason number one? Do they deserve that? I'm not sold that they do. And like I said, maybe I'm too close. Maybe I'm, too skeptical by nature of the last 12 years of Texas football, right? 10 years, whatever it is. But I'm going to say they're in the championship game, lose to Georgia. I'm going to say Georgia Bulldogs with all that five-star talent, with all those recruits that they've been stockpiling. Yes, they've got question marks here and there at important positions. But I just think they're going to be too much. I think they're going to, by the end of the season, overwhelm a lot of people.
I think people are going to be sick of the Georgia-Texas games if that comes to fruition because we've had a bunch of them. Carson, who do you have making it to Atlanta and lifting the SEC title trophy?
This was a tough ask because when you look at this conference, I see at least 9 teams that could make it to the playoff and maybe make it to Atlanta for the SEC championship game. Of course, you have your teams like Georgia, Texas, Bama, LSU, people that widely are being picked like, okay, that's a playoff team. Then you have teams like OU, South Carolina, A&M, Florida. There are a lot of teams that I think have the talent to do so. Will the coaching put it together? That's another question that remains to be seen. Even teams like Ole Miss, Tennessee that lost a lot of guys, sure. They have the talent, though. They have the good coaching with Lane Kiffin, Josh Heupel. So picking this was not easy, but I'm going to throw it back to the late 2010s, go Alabama versus Georgia in the title game. That rivalry has produced so many good games over the years, and I think those teams will be great this year. Georgia, obviously, Kirby Smart's turned them back into what they used to be. I think that team, Gunnar Stockton, I think is going to be a bit of an improvement from Carson Beck at quarterback. Beck never, he was never a star for the Bulldogs, and I think Stockton's going to be consistently better than Carson Beck was. So I think they're going to be really good. And then you look at Bama, they also have quarterback questions without Jalen Milroe. Now it's Ty Simpson. And I think people forget, they're saying, oh, yeah, Ty Simpson, he's not going to be this great quarterback. He doesn't really have to be. You look at Alabama's quarterback history with A.J. McCarron, John Parker Wilson. Those were some dang good teams, won national championships, and they didn't have a Heisman winner there. Alabama's defense might be the best in the country, pound for pound overall. I think they're going to be fantastic. Both of these teams make the playoff, but I've got the Dogs hoisting the trophy, like Hoof said. I think they're going to be fantastic. Maybe the best coach in college football leading them. So I think Georgia wins it this year again.
I do not have the Dogs winning. I have them in Atlanta. I'm looking at this group of like 5 teams. Georgia, Bama, Texas, South Carolina, LSU is my like candidates. And then just like crossing them off the list, I do think that replacing 6 of that front 7 is going to be a bridge too far for South Carolina, even if Lenore Sellers is incredible. I fundamentally am just not a believer in Brian Kelly to like get LSU over that final hump, even though he's been to Atlanta once before with the Tigers. So then it just becomes a Bama, Georgia, Texas situation. And we've seen Kirby reload, have faith there. I really think that getting Grubb back in the room with Caleb DeBoer is going to be like super, super important for Alabama. And for Texas, I'm just kind of lean on probably, like you said, Carson, a big believer in the Bama defense, big believer in Grubb. I think that's going to be like the 3 teams we're looking at tiebreakers between, but I think it'll be a return to Bama and Georgia. And as everyone knows, Georgia can't beat Alabama in Atlanta. They suck against Alabama in Atlanta. That record's really, really, really bad. I have a big bounce back for Kalen DeBoer. It's going to be aight. You're going to be okay. Is he Nick Saban? No, but I have Alabama taking the SEC title back to the playoff. All right, let's rattle through these other ones. I think they're all maybe a little bit easier or harder just because of lower stakes, more teams, or fewer teams. In the Big Ten, I'll lead us off just very simply. I think this is a 2-horse race. I think it's Ohio State and Penn State, and I don't believe in James Franklin. So I've got Ryan Day headed back as Big Ten champs.
I'll take Ryan Day, Ohio State Big Ten champs over Oregon.
I'm going to go Ohio State going there, but losing to Oregon, I think Oregon's schedule sets themselves up super well this year. Not too difficult. I think they get revenge for what happened in the Rose Bowl last year. Ducks take the Big Ten.
Big Dan Lanning year. We'll see what different college football rules he can exploit this year. Headed over to the ACC. Who do you have with our friends in the Atlantic Coast Conference?
Quality over quantity. I'm going to go with Clemson over Louisville.
Carson, are you also backing Dabo, which is a crime on this podcast, by the way?
I am backing Dabo to win it, and picking a second team for this was not easy. I think Louisville's a good pick with Miller Moss. I think that team's going to be better. I think Georgia Tech Haynes King's going to be pretty good. I'm going to go Syracuse here, though. I think that team with a transfer quarterback, Angeli, I think they're going to be surprisingly good. 10-win season a year ago, I think they beat Miami last game of the year last season. I think Syracuse is going to be good. Not good enough to make the playoff, but they're going to be number 2 in the conference, lose to Clemson. Clemson is the only ACC team that makes it this year.
We'll see a good look at Syracuse. Part of that back-to-back Saturday, Sunday experience in Atlanta for opening weekend. Syracuse and Tennessee. I think that's going to be a low-key, like, I don't see many people talk about it. I think it's going to be an awesome game. I've got Clemson winning against all of my better judgment. They will be playing The Rambling Wreck from Georgia Tech. I've got Haynes King. If he plays 12 games, he's going to New York City. I'm telling you right now, he's very undervalued. Georgia Tech's dip last year was perfectly aligned with when Haynes King was out of the lineup, and they beat Miami without Haynes King being able to throw a forward pass, as he was basically the two quarterback system. That was Hoover and I watching that in Columbia last year, and it was fantastic. It was beautiful. It brought a tear to my eye. Not going to be enough to beat Clemson. That'll be a rematch of a regular season game, but after Georgia Tech and Clemson square off in week 3 or 4, the schedule lightens up for the Jackets. And I do think SMU, they're returning a ton. I just think they're going to struggle with you were the new kid on the block. No one's really excited about SMU. Now it's like, hey, you were the team in the regular season and all that stuff. And the schedule's a little bit tougher for them this go around, I think. So that'll be interesting to see. All right, we're about to shoot or just like blindly throw darts at a dartboard because as we know, over the last 5 years, the Big 12 has been the hardest conference to project, and we are going to stupidly try and project it. Who?
Why not? Why not? Yeah, I did throw a dart at a dartboard. I believe in Arizona State. I do, Carson. Your guys out there in the desert. If one of these two teams falls, I think Arizona State wins the conference. But I'm picking Texas Tech. I almost made a guns up thing there. Look at that. I'll put my thumb in.
Penalty. That's a penalty. 15
Texas
yards.
Tech. I know, celebrating, right? Over Kansas State. And I'm saying Kansas State because I still think Chris Kleiman is one of the best football coaches in all of FBS. Chris Kleiman, a legit football mind. Can he get players to go to Kansas State? Can he coach them up? Can they win close games? I say yes. I say they're back in the Big 12 championship game, but will fall to Texas Tech. I'm not sure why I like Texas Tech so much, other than it's the Big 12, it's the Wild West, it's a shootout, it's wide open. Hey, roll the dice on the Red Raiders.
And you like money. That's also why, because Texas Tech got just about as much as everybody. Carson, who do you have taken on the Sun Devils in Arlington?
I've got Texas Tech beating the Sun Devils in Arlington. I think ASU beats Tech in the regular season. That game's in Tempe. They get revenge from what happened in Lubbock. That was one of ASU's 2 regular season losses last year. I think they win in Tempe, but fall to the Red Raiders in Arlington. I think both of those teams make the playoff, though. I think ASU, after what happened, even after losing Scadaboo, I think Sam Levitt's a Heisman contender, might get that New York invite. I think Texas Tech's getting a lot better. Definitely saw some improvement last year. So I think both those teams may get to the playoff.
Could Texas Tech win 10 games under Joey McGuire once before everyone gets on the hype train? He's a great talker. He has done nothing more than Cliff Kingsbury did. He has not achieved what Mike Leach did in a better conference with less resources. I think Texas Tech will be looking for a new coach because I think that Joey McGuire is great and they're not going to like bottom out. I think they have a really high floor. I don't think he's like an elite coach, and I think that he would have gotten more out of that roster a year ago, even though they've like thrown it into hyperdrive even more. Like it's gotten progressively more and more. Think they'll be good. I don't think they'll be in Arlington. I don't have my one rule here was I can't pick either of the two teams that were there last year because that's what like the Big 12 has shown us over and over again. I think that it's not going to be like this turn the standings upside down type thing. I think ASU is going to be really good again. I think Tech's going to be good, but I've got Baylor and K-State making it through, and I am going to back Dave Aranda, who's already got a Big 12 championship in his pocket. He's returning 7 guys on that defense that were starters a year ago. Sawyer Robinson and Jake Spavital stayed put. That was a unit that certainly got some eyeballs from the powers that be in Norman as far as, hey, let's monitor what this thing looks like. And I think that they're going to kick it off Friday night, opening night, by embarrassing Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers, and they're going to ride that wave. They've got have you seen Baylor's non-con, by the way? They're hosting Auburn and then headed to SMU, 2 massive big-time games for the Baylor Bears. I don't know if they'll get through the non-con unscathed, but I think they're going to beat Auburn because I don't think Auburn's going to be any good, and I think that they're going to win the Big 12.
Joey McGuire might not be a great coach, but he is a great recruiter. He has recruited some of the best billionaires in the country.
He is elite. The double eagle. It's beautiful. That's it, right? All right. Group of 5. Is it going to be Boise State repeating as the group of 5 representatives, or are you going elsewhere, John Hoover?
Boise State. I'm all about the blue.
Fair enough. Carson, are you also on the Boise train?
Not this year, no. I am going. So last year it was Boise State beating UNLV in what was kind of the de facto play-in game to the college football playoff. I think that's going to happen again, but in the American Conference. I think Tulane beats Memphis in a winner takes all, winner goes to the playoff type of game. I think with Jake Retzlaff, I think the Green Wave are going to be pretty good this year.
Like it. We have a lot of friends out there in New Orleans, even though we did not get to go because weather. So,
I think
uh,
Tulane was my pick last year, weren't they? Tulane was my group of five pick, and they came that close.
yeah, they were really really close. I looked at Tulane, I looked at Boise. I'm going to the other side of that winner take all though. Our friend Dan Mullen is back in the fold. Dan Mullen, until he just threw his hands up and stopped recruiting at Florida that final year, was still really really good. I think going to UNLV is going to make a big difference there because I think that Dan Mullen might be enough in Vegas for the Rebs, who were pretty good last year, just not good enough to tackle Ashton Genty. Don't have that issue again, and that thing will go there. To project a 12-team playoff would be pretty tough, so we're not going to dive into the weeds of all that stuff, but I think we've got some good stuff here, so you can take it to the bank. We all had Georgia going, so that's not going to happen. Ohio State's going to get everybody hurt by week 3. Clemson's going to get ruled ineligible, and I think that means Texas Tech's in for a bad season as well, just based off our track record. And OU's going to go undefeated because we're 2-7-5 and 8-4. Congratulations to your 2025 SEC champions, the Oklahoma Sooners. That's how this bit goes around here.
We're historically bad at this and proud of it.
Proud of it too. Good thing we just write the stories. That's much easier on that side of things. All right, next time we talk to you all, it will be game week. We will be breaking down the Illinois State Redbirds. No, we'll be breaking down what we want to see from Oklahoma against the Illinois State Redbirds. We'll probably have a depth chart in hand. We'll have spoken with Brent Venables for his first game week press conference. We'll have had his first casting weird injury aspersions of the coaches show that never come true. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, Brent. Relax. We'll have that coaches show back next Monday night. You can listen to that bad boy on the franchise. Shameless pug. We'll have the press conference, like we said. We'll have all of our game week content. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Next week, you get not one, but 2 editions of the Sooners on SI Podcast. Because when Carson and I are done with everything, we send him down to the field. We rope Hoover. We're all going to get together. We're going to slam into a room. Broadcast booth A, where we shut windows and throw wooden rods down to people below. We will have the Sooners on SI post-game pod certified fresh from the press box, as Hoove likes to say. So we'll have him lording over that. That bad boy will be up deep into the night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, something like that. More content coming to you. And as always, do 2 things for us. Do 3 things. Do a bunch of stuff. But here's the thing. Go to the website, OklahomaSoonersOnSI.com. Just bookmark that tab. You can go to it every single day. We're always putting out a ton of content, free content as well. That's the first thing you need to do. Then you need to go to the YouTube page, John Hoover Media, follow it, hit the little bell, and when we start uploading all the player interviews, all that stuff, you'll get a notification straight to your phone, straight to your email, whatever you want. Boom, easy. And then finally, wherever you listen to the Sooners on SI Pod, just give us a 5-star rating and review. Helps us with visibility. The more listeners we get, the more fun stuff we can do. And it really expands just kind of the possibilities of what we can do, and share it with a friend. So if you can do those 3 things for us, then we will give you a salute, and we will talk to you guys on Wednesday, recapping the Brent Venables press conference and previewing Illinois State. Friends, it's here. Let's enjoy it together. We'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.